Yeah, that's all him. That's all this.
I didn't know if I.
Yeah, I think you did it, and I can handle kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I can't open it.
So are some people coming?
We'll see.
Well, Robert Levin said he was coming.
Oh, more than 50.
Okay, 4 people. I,
Probably
what's that?
I'm assuming Faye would be coming then too, but I don't know.
You know, he's got, well, he's got Russell. His mom.
I don't know. I haven't noticed this one. Unless he was just telling me people were coming that I didn't know.
Okay.
That was just remind me of names.
He was telling me that he's the cottageist,
Oh,
the man. Well, that's really good because some of those names, they're Sarah Severovitz. That's not an easy name to tradition.
Well,
And some of them aren't right. And some of them are just like there's a guy named Hyman Erdon. I mean, there's names I look for every year. And we just wait for Hyman Erdon. And I know, you know, the list only gets longer.
yeah.
It never gets shorter. It's the fact of life. And it's gotten really long.
Well,
I know you're a poet. He wants to care. I think it's selfish. I think you have to be very careful. Unless like nobody's here and they weren't pastoral or Martha. You know, okay, you could donate or something. You don't say anything.
my pastor, like where I grew up and when I was working during school,
Yeah.
the list, like, if you had the weekly whatever
Yeah.
brochure,
Yeah.
it had the entire list.
Yeah.
If they only read certain names, you had to just pay $10 or whatever a year to have that name.
That's so worth it.
Fill it, man. Please fill it.
Phil, are we on?
Good Shabbos, everyone. We begin our service with Hine Matov, how good it is to be with our brothers and sisters. Hine Matov, umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov, umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, umanayim shevet achim gam yachad.
aleikum, shalom aleichem, salam aleikum, shalom aleichem, salam aleikum, shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Just a few announcements before we begin officially tonight's service. We hope that Paul and Darla, they're having a wonderful holiday, resting at home, enjoying their family. But nevertheless, it's our honor and pleasure to bring back someone who's really important to our Temple Emanu-El family. On the keys, Dr. Lester Siegel has returned, and you actually have a spotlight on you right now, thanks to Caleb. But we're so thrilled and happy that you're here joining us. The last housekeeping announcement, like last week, we have our visual tefillah from the Central Conference of American Rabbis. So for those at home watching, just sit back and relax for tonight's service. You'll see the words and prayers somewhere near Cantor Whitner's head. We continue. We enter the sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign from God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wandering, it has endured. It's a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into the sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. And we continue with our candlelight blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav metzivanu lehatlik ner shel Shabbat.
We rise together for Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav meratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho me'ahava u'b'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'asei bereishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh zeichel yitziat mitzrayim בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
Please be seated. We continue with Psalm 92, in which our rabbis believe that it is this psalm that we hope our future can all be like Shabbat every day.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך רנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני, מאוד עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
We continue with Lecha Dodi.
לכאן דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לכאן דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבורך תשמיענו, אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, שם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לכאן דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לכאן דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו בני אלחקים, מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה בבקשה בתחילה. לכאן דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לכאן דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך ומאורי, אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לכאן דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לכאן דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
We rise together to greet the Sabbath Queen.
בואי ושלום עטרת מעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לכאן דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Please be seated. We continue with our Chetzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לאלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמם ואמרו אמן.
And we rise. Please be seated. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way in which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise you, Adonai, our God, for whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamriv Aravim. We continue with Ahavat Olam.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם מחיינו באורך ימינו משפטך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, לחיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Our song of redemption of freedom, our Mi Chamocha.
כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה ראו בניך בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 די, יאי די 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 כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו.
גאל ישראל.
Amen. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that when we lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will, we continue with Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Behamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Behamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Behamidenu shomreinu
We are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. We continue with Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינבש, שבת וינבש, שבת וינבש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We rise together for tefillah.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may the day fulfill its promise. We continue with Ritzay.
Ritzay Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel u'tehi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael. Yisrael Amecha El Karov Lechol Kore'av B'nei El Avatecha Mechoneinu Shevach Ruchacha Aleinu Betechesena Eineinu Beshuvcha LeZion Berachamim. Baruch atah
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace and its advocate among the nations. Make a temperate reign within its borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praise you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. We continue with Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. B'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
We take a few moments for silent prayer.
יהיו רצון אמרי פי, יהיו רצון אמרי פי, מהגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. Oh, may the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart, be acceptable before you. O God, my rock and my redeemer. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו, מעל כל ישראל, ואמרו ואמרו אמן.
At this moment in our service, we take time to think of those in our community who are in need of healing of body or spirit. On the Shabbat, we especially think of Linda Applebaum, Cindy Bailey, Dr. Jason Bailey, Katie Bates, Chrissy St. Charles and Don St. Charles, Orit Cohen, Grayson Cook, Dr. Jeff Davis, Sylvia Gauss, Elaine Gross, Danny Jones, Bart Kolber, Scott Leader, Priscilla Leaf, Barton Leaf, Wayne Lewis, Vicki Luger, Kakicolette Mendel, Isaac Petrosky, Bethany Pridmore, Nancy Russo, Beth Scherer, Robin Silverman Ayers, Dr. Lynn Simons, Jean Sklar, Jesse Weisberg, Marguerite Varon, and Elisa Rosemore Whitehead. We invite you now to think of your loved ones, your friends, those who are in need of healing of body or spirit. Our Misha Berach, our prayer for healing, continues.
Before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe berach imoteinu mekor habracha. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. After tonight's service concludes, I'm sure most of us have our Shangri-La order ready to go or on speed dial. I wanted you to know, Rachel, if you're watching, that all the years in San Diego, we would order at a place called Chin Szechuan. It's right off the 5 in Encinitas. It took 45 minutes to get them on the phone on Christmas, so I went at 11:30 to Shangri-La in Montevello, and the order is already in for after tonight's service. So, but there's some importance here. I think there's a joke, perhaps some meaning when I'm talking about the idea of Chinese food on Christmas, because we say, Jews, that we're going to eat Chinese food, and then what else are we going to do? We're going to the movies, okay? So the greatest question I've seen is, why do Jews eat Chinese food on December 25th? And the number one common answer that I hear the most is that it's the only thing that's open. Technically, this is not true, but it's not the right answer. And then another thing that I found as to why we eat Chinese food on December 25th, there's been a meme around social media, and this has been going around for quite some time, and here's the sign that people like to post. I don't know if you guys have seen this. The Chinese Restaurant Association of the United States would like to extend our thanks to the Jewish people. We don't completely understand your dietary customs, but we are proud and grateful that your God insists that you eat our food on Christmas. So a lot of Jews throughout the country, even in Israel, have proudly displayed this sign, which I don't know if it's true or not, but there's some important meaning as to why we actually eat Chinese food last night and tonight. Last Friday, I shared with you a difficult sermon about the state of Jew hatred in our country and throughout the world. I think it's necessary to shed light on these current issues, but I felt tonight's Rosh needed to be a little bit more uplifting despite our painful reminder. And I think it's a perfect way to talk about why it's actually important and powerful regarding the significance of the Chinese dumpling. As I mentioned last Friday, the Europe Highest Court, they just approved the legislation to ban kosher and halal slaughtering the processes. It has actually nothing to do with animal cruelty. For those who just dig a little deeper, Denmark actually killed over 17 million of its mink and also banned kosher and halal meat. So we all know where this is going. Nothing to do with animal cruelty. But this is where we pivot, since we're talking about food, and we can appreciate the freedoms that we have here in the United States, especially when talking about food and culture. Food creates freedom. I think this is a country that celebrates the diversity of food. I think different types of cuisines are celebrated, and here I am talking about food from Arkaner, who comes from the food capital of this country, where it's a representation of every ethnic group all on some islands. And being in Los Angeles for 5 years, that also played an importance to celebrate the idea of food and culture. When I was a student teacher at the University of Southern California, I taught a class called Food, Faith, and Conflict. And we had someone named Jonathan Gold of blessed memory. He was the leading food critic for the LA Times. And on this class, he brought in a menu, and a menu can tell stories of a new Mexican pop-up food truck that serves Mexican food through the lens of sushi. His theory was that this is a way to experience something new, to look at other ideas and to make them American and to appreciate this. Here's the thing. We don't eat Chinese food on Christmas because it's the only thing open. And here's why. We all need to go back on a time machine, perhaps sometime in the early 20th century, in New York, when a bevy of Jews came from Eastern Europe. And this is a different experience for many of our congregants, because I've learned a lot of our congregants came to this country. They were German-speaking Jews, perhaps around 1850. And this is a totally different experience and narrative compared to those Jews who came from Eastern Europe. So when Eastern European Jews came to this country, they were scared to be in this new land. And they were finally free from the pogroms, the persecutions, living in the Pale of Settlement. And they sought so many different ways to become an American. As history would tell us, it took time for Jews to settle in this country, but they endeavored to make it their own. They wanted to fit in. These Eastern European Jews, these new immigrants, they so believed in our ideals, and they celebrated our diversity. In New York, new immigrant Jews, they faced pressure not just from other Jews who were here, but pressure from other groups as well. Remember, for these Eastern European Jews, imagine Fiddler on the Roof automatically being transported to the Lower East Side. They would walk around New York and they would feel uncomfortable going into Italian restaurants. They had issues seeing angels on the walls and icons, and that made them feel uncomfortable. And knowing that despite Italians, they strive for the American dream too, Jews were hesitant to eat in these restaurants because of the frequency of cooking milk and meat together. But Chinese food, this was a different story. Chinese restaurant owners, they showed an extra level of kindness to new Jewish immigrants. And Jews knew that Chinese food generally separated milk and meat from its recipes. And this was very promising. And they came up with a rhyme, safe trafe. Yes, the kreplach is something that we eat, but this dumpling, we don't want to know what's inside of it, but it looks pretty similar, and we're going to go for it. And this is where they felt American, that eating at a Chinese food made them feel sophisticated, cosmopolitan, part of the team. And if we think about it as historians, it was Chinese food that allowed them to become assimilated while holding their Jewish identity, while being part of the greater ideals of this country. I think for us Jews today, we don't have this mindset. And after all, Birmingham, this is a foodie city, home to James Beard award-winning establishments, those new restaurants that'll soon win their awards, where we dine frequently. And when we eat at these places, but right now, takeout, I don't think we go down the memory lane of appreciating our first stab at eating at fine dining or something incredible. But if we think about it, it happened through the power of the dumpling. There's so much for us to digest. A pandemic, a polarized and divided country, and much more. Even in our country with its visible limitations, I still think we have much to be thankful for. As a rabbi, I think the dumpling gave us the courage to change the course of our people. And this was forever cemented after World War II, when so many more of those Eastern European Jews, those children, they became well established. So when we order our food tonight and next year, my message for us is to remember those Jews of the 20th century, those who walked in and tried something new for the first time. This really changed everything. And so when you eat that dumpling, we all know the answer to why we eat Chinese food on Christmas. Shabbat Shalom. We continue rising together for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, בגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. When cherished ties are broken and the chain of love is shattered, only trust and the strength of faith can lighten the heaviness of the heart. At times, the pain of separation seems more than we can bear, but if we dwell too long on our loss, we embitter our hearts and harm ourselves and those about us. The psalmist said in his affliction, he learned the law of God. And in truth, grief is a great teacher when it sends us back to serve and bless the living. We learn how to counsel and comfort those who, like ourselves, are struggling and with sorrow. We learn when to keep silent in their presence and when a word will assure them of our love and especially our concern. Thus, even when they are gone, the departed are with us, moving us to live as, in their higher moments, they themselves wish to live. We remember them now. They live in our hearts. They are an abiding blessing. On this Shabbat, we recall the yortzites of Noman Anun, Diana Breener Burke, Sterling Berman, Sydney Binder, Harriet Wheel Broda, Roberta Campbell, Margaret Castell, Dave Cohen, Jeanette K. Cohn, Alan J. Cohn, Etta T. Cooper, Marvin Elkin, Ike Z. Engel, Maurice Cohn Erdrich Sr., Tilly T. Feinfeld, Lillian Ginsberg, Harold Joseph Goldstein, Jean Held, Phyllis Herman, Emery Kane, Teresa E. Carpiles, Isidore Lassen, Hannah Lazarus, Sonia Rosen Lazarus, Joe Lightman, Luis Aylin Levin, Lois Lefkoff, Tilly Lishkoff, Moise Lishkoff, Alice Munn Meisner, Paul Miller, Saul Morris, Leah D. Newfield, Remy Opsimer, Katie Pariser, Sarah Harris Phillips, Justin Chuck Ravitz, Minna Rubin, Jennifer Rotenstrike, Louis Sachs, Chaim Schnipper, Myron D. Schreiberman, Betya Silberman, Marjorie Sokol, Sandra Gale Sokol, Ethel Wool Solomon, Diane Holzer Steiner, Edith Tanner, Minnie Lazarus Wheel, Barbara Goldstein Weisberg, Marilyn Nados Weller, and Manuel Weinstein. Our heartfelt condolences in the recent passing of Diane Larson, and to my brother-in-law, Bruce Simon, the late brother of David Simon, Fred Friedman, late husband of Brenda Friedman and father of Leah Cohen and Jordan Friedman, and Joseph Cantor, brother of Shirley Osmond and uncle of Kent Osmond.
Sheila and Paul Klein.
May their memories forever be a blessing, and we rise together for our mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal, Vikadash Shemei Rabbah, Biomad Divrach Hirote, Vamlich Machute, Bechayel of Yomechon, Uvkaet the called Beit Yisrael, Bagala Uisman Kari, Vimru,
Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mivarach Leolam Olamei Amaya, Yit Barach, Vishtabach, Yit Barard, Yit Romam, Yit Naseh, Vita Dar, Vita Lev, Vita Lao, Shemei Dekucha, Le'ela Minkol Birchata V'Shirata, Tushbichata V'Nechamata, Damin Ram Yelma V'Yimru,
Amen.
Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'Chaim Aleinu V'Yakol Yisrael, V'Yimru, Amen. Osei Shalom B'Yimro Mav, Hu Yasei Shalom, Aleinu V'Yakol Yisrael, V'Yimru, Amen.
Ose Shalom B'Yimro Mav, Hu Yasei Shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, me'imeru, Amen.
Before we conclude with the Don Olam, we want to thank once again Dr. Lester Siegel for, it's been absolutely amazing having you back on the keys. Yashar Koach. Let us conclude.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעין נשא וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא יעשה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני והמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשי בלי תכלית והוא אלי והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי בצור חבלי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנח כוסים ביום מקרה בידו אפקיד רוחי בעת ישן ועיירה ואם רוחי גווייתי אדוני לי ולא יירא
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
I'm sorry about that key on Lisa Bear. You might have been in need of Rekuah Shlema. Probably. But you handled the pass.